Okie doke. So it's time for another episode of Mindfulness with Christ, and it's kind of a big deal. This is episode 10. I don't know why, but that feels like a big deal. Today, our episode is titled Resilience and Healthy Mindsets with Food. I had a tough time for a second there figuring out a name for this episode because we kind of go over quite a few things when I talk today with Dr. Eva Selhub, and she is awesome. She is a woman with a plan and motivation, and you can just tell just by talking to her that she knows what's up, and she's very goal oriented and into self development and sharing her experiences and her knowledge with those around her. She is a author, speaker, scientist, physician, and consultant. So she's got tons of resources out there, which are linked in the bio. And she has her book that just came out, Resilience for Dummies, which is also included in the link. So yeah, this is a pretty good listen. I enjoyed it. I always say this, I think, but I also really liked editing it because it was such a good refresher for me, and it motivated me a little bit more and made me feel, I don't know, just more on track and ready for tomorrow. I'm editing this at night, so the day's pretty much over for me today. I'm gonna finish this and wash my face and go to bed. But anyways, okay, so we're gonna get this started. Yeah. Okay. So we're on. And as I just said again, but I want to get this on the recording. Thank you for coming on and taking some time out of your schedule to talk with me today.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. And so one thing that you had mentioned that you wanted to kind of get into, which I am totally down for, is your new book, Resilience for Dummies. So do you want to just jump right into that?
It's actually quite exciting. So the Wiley Publishing House approached me over the summer, back in end of June, and said, "Will you write this book?" And I thought, yes, I will write this book. This has been something I've worked on for my life's work, but also it's a timely issue that people really need, and they wanted it to be written really fast.
Oh, wow.
They wanted it to be out, right now. So I literally wrote the book in like 2 months.
Whoa! My gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah, I just sat down and worked. Well, I mean, because my travel is non-existent now, so my speaking engagements were non-existent. So I had all this extra time, and plus I was working really hard trying to keep my father out of the hospital, and so my life was pretty crazy. So I had to practice what I preached. And so everything was really fresh, and I just sat there 5 to 6 hours a day in between clients and all my other work, and got it done. We're doing the editing right now. There's just a little bit of editing that's getting done, but it will be out March 3rd, and it's nuts to bolts. Everything you need to know about cultivating resilience, from mental resilience, emotional, physical, relationship, work, family, mindfulness, meditation. It just covers, it's 23 chapters. So it covers everything. And the way the For Dummies books are written is it's just really simple format. And, everything's kind of in bullets and icons. So it's really easy to read. You can go to any chapter without reading another chapter and get the information you need. So each chapter is written so that it can stand on its own. So that's just sort of the style of For Dummies. That's not the general style that I usually write. So I'm excited about it.
So that's cool. So you got to kind of step outside of your typical realm of what you're used to with writing. Because I know you have multiple other books as well.
I have four other books. I have four other books, and the three of them are similar, and the one of them is more sort of scientifically based. And but they have a beginning and an end. And they're written very, very differently. So this was challenging. It was challenging to do it differently, but it was also easier in a way because I didn't have to go so deeply into any specific subject as I would, scientifically, if you will. And I could keep it simple. So in different respects, it was a little bit easier to write. In other ways, it was a little bit more challenging.
Right, so maybe this would be a good book for people to pick up if they have yet to read one of your books. They could kind of get the basics, and then from there kind of move into a different book
Yeah.
of yours.
Yeah, so this is the thing. So this book basically, like I said, covers everything. It covers like resilience at work. It covers resilience in your family. It covers resilience for kids. It covers mindfulness, meditation, self-awareness, physical fitness, all these different types of things. If you want to actually go deeper into the practice, of stress management, or deeper into the practice of understanding how your body works and how allopathic or Western medicine works, or if you want to really dive deeper into spirituality and love and emotions, then you would go into these other books are going to cover it more deeply.
Right. And I did notice on your website you have your brain on nature, which that one sounds like something I can get down to. The love response, and one that especially piqued my interest was your health destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one I actually am pretty interested in buying myself. I love books that are kind of focused on self-development and self-help and stuff.
They all
Um,
are.
yeah, right. I always have too many though. I'm always like going through 5 at a
Well,
time. I'm such a slow reader.
all my books are, is what I mean.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So the love response was the first book, and that was written about basically looking at the stress response and the antithesis, the antidote to the stress response, which is the love response, which comes from understanding the relaxation response, which is a term coined by Herbert Benson in the early 70s, late 60s, when he was studying the physiological changes that occur to people who meditate, and found that the physiological changes are the opposite of what happens when people are under stress, and that when we meditate, when we actually elicit the relaxation response, we become more susceptible to being more resilient and less susceptible to stress. And I found that when we add love to that equation, whether it's a connection to ourselves or others or what have you, then that actually takes it to the next step, which is why I called it the love response. And that's what that book's about, is how to connect with the love response.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Good thing I work from home and my laptop for work is always close by. So, anyways, I don't entirely remember where we left off, but I know.
I think I was just telling you about the books.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, like I was saying that there's such a thing called the stress response, which is the physiological changes that happen in the body when you're under stress. And Herb Benson, back in the late 60s and early 70s, discovered that there was a physiological response that happened in the body when we meditate, and any form of meditation, whether it's mindfulness or transcendental meditation. He called it the relaxation response. And then I just basically coined a term that I didn't create, but I just gave it a language, which is that when we add love to that meditative state, it even enhances that experience. And I called it the love response. And the question was, how do we access the love response? How do we shift into the physiological response of love, which is basically the antidote to fear and stress and to illness? So that's what the first book is about, is how to access the physiology of love, basically through different exercises. It's very, very prescriptive, and through building your three levels of what I call the love pyramid, which is social love, spiritual love, and self-love. And then the second book was Your Brain on Nature, which I co-authored with Alan Logan, who's a naturopath, fabulous human being. And we basically were seeing back then the negative effects of being on the screen was having on mental health and well-being, especially in children, and the basically nature deprivation syndrome that was happening. And we just sort of wrote about that, all the scientific findings. And it's probably the one book that is still being bought, people, because sort of like people are awakening to it now, especially. And then the third book was Your Health Destiny, which is basically the 20 years of my practice put into a book, which is the merging of Eastern and Western medicine, and giving people the tools that they need to sort of reshape their destiny. That basically your health destiny isn't set in stone, even if you're genetically predisposed and you have the ability to change it. And this is how. And then the fourth book was the Stress Management Handbook, was essentially taking a lot of the stuff from the other books and putting it into a workbook.
Nice.
So Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. So is it like, is there a timeline with that workbook, or is it more so go at your own pace,
Go at
or?
your own pace.
Mhm.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
at your own pace. It's sort of a handbook. If there's writing exercises, meditation exercises,
Nice.
um, like physical exercises. There's all different kinds of things that you can do. There's humor in there, so it's also a simple, more of a simple book because it's a handbook. It's
Yeah.
rather than
No,
textbook.
I like that. And I like how you take Eastern and Western medicine and kind of combine them, because I feel like a lot of times you see all or nothing. It's, only Eastern medicine or only Western medicine. The rest is, kooky. And sometimes it's like this black or white view of things. But when in reality, I think it's more of a gray, and just kind of deciphering what works for your body, what doesn't, and being okay with both ends of the spectrum, and knowing that they can actually have a partnership together rather than constantly fight against one another.
And that's what we want to remember about life in general, right? And about people. And I think that's what people forget, that everything and everyone has value. You might not know what that value is right away, but assume that it is there,
Yeah.
and then, and be open to it. And so, nobody has all the answers and nobody is perfect. So neither is allopathic medicine, nor is, integrative or alternative or whatever you want to call it, medicine or healing, whatever terminology you want to give it, but they both have value. And when combined in the right way for any individual, then you can have magic.
Yeah. No, I think that's incredible. And one thing I love as well is just your background is so incredible with you were working at the Harvard School as an instructor and director, correct?
So I was so part of being at working at one of these hospitals that are affiliated with Harvard. It comes along with being an instructor in medicine or lecturer in medicine. So that comes along with so I've been part of the Harvard teaching hospital since 1997. I resigned in 2016 or 17.
Oh,
So
wow.
close to 20 years.
Wow.
And during that time, I was also working for the Mind Body Medical Institute, which is now the Benson Henry Institute for Mind Body Medicine at the Massachusetts General Hospital. So they were always part of those Harvard teaching hospitals. And so I, started there in 97, became the medical director in 99, and did that for about 7 years. And then I stepped down and was just one of their clinicians for many years before I completely stepped down as I opened up my own private practice. And so part of that was, being a director in mind body medicine and teaching other healthcare providers about mind body medicine.
Yeah.
That was part of the mission of the organization, was to spread the word and teach other clinicians about how to integrate.
Yeah. No, I love that. And also, again, sometimes I feel like, you can have two different people tell you the exact same thing, but then sometimes a certain person saying it carries a little more weight. And I just feel like it's so important that you have this platform and that you're saying a lot of things that you're saying about integrating them both, and including that aspect of mental health and spirituality into things, because it just feels like it seems more, it just makes more sense coming from you, if that makes sense.
It might be more credible.
There we go. That's the word.
I mean, in some ways it's unfortunate, right?
Yeah,
That
I know.
it's to have a medical degree for people to listen. But, for me, I think that's probably why I went, people say to me, you spent so much money and so much time getting a medical degree and you don't practice medicine. I said, oh, but I do.
Yeah.
Just practice medicine, and not in the way that you see it, but in the way that I think that needs to happen. But in general, like, when you look back at your life, you realize, or I realize, I had to get this degree in order for me to create change in the world, because otherwise people weren't going to listen.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't make other people who say the same thing less valid.
Right.
It's just unfortunate that their world is like that, and that they listen to what they believe has more credibility, which doesn't mean I have more credibility. It just means that people believe that I do.
And I 100% agree with that, because most of the time when I do hear these things, it's from people who, don't have their MD, and I totally am like on board with them, like, yes, but it's like I said, just so great to have someone like you who is also sharing that and on board with that kind of movement. So, and I'm also really interested in some of your views on diet and proper eating and the effects that it can have on mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you have posted different things about healthy eating and workouts and yoga routines on YouTube. I've seen those. And so I'm sure you're probably pretty passionate about that as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm, you know, really, actually, I CrossFit also. So,
Mm.
you know, I'm just turned 53 last couple weeks ago, and I can tell you that I'm in better shape now than I was in my 20s.
Wow.
So this idea of, you know, this idea that you're just, you know, people say, oh, I'm old and I'm achy and I'm tired. You know, I just say that's, you know, that's bullshit. And so that there is something to be said. I mean, this is not something that I was doing. You know, we're not taught this in medicine, in medical school, and at least not when I was in medicine a thousand years ago. You know, we're not taught about nutrition. We're not taught about physical fitness and how important it is for physiology, for our neurons, for our mental health. And so, you know, the new studies are showing that there is a definite connection between the gut-brain connection is very definite. You know, 95% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. There are direct and indirect pathways going from the gut to the brain that involve the parasympathetic nervous system or the vagal nerve, that involve the microbiome or the bacteria that naturally live in the gut, that are helping you absorb and digest and integrate, but also helping you feel. And that when you ingest or put something in the body that can't be broken down into fuel, it gets put away either into fat stores, or it creates inflammation in the body because it's essentially a foreign object that the body's trying to get rid of. And then that's eventually going to affect the brain, right?
Mm.
So it's kind of like, you know, kind of tell people, you know, think about, you know, you're driving a Lamborghini or some really fancy sports car. You're not going to put vegetable oil in the gas tank.
Right.
But we do that because it's tasty and accessible. So
Quick, cheap.
we eat a lot of processed foods. You know, we eat things that are prepackaged, that are frozen, like frozen pizzas and French fries or potato chips or whatever it is that is, you know, made to, it's put in a lot of preservatives so that it has a longer shelf life. And it's added in a lot of sugar or fat so that, you know, we get addicted to it and we eat it because it tastes good. And however, it has low nutritional value and causes inflammation and affects both our physical and our mental health. And that when you actually start looking at food as fuel, now I don't have a problem with people eating such foods, by the way. I'm not a person, again, you can tell I'm not a person who's black or, you know, concrete, you
Right.
know, you have. I think, you know, I agree, it's tasty. You know, my Achilles heel is French fries. You know, you
Same.
put French fries in front of me, I can't say no to those. Um, but I don't eat them every day, and I don't eat a lot of, you know what I mean? They're sort of I have them once in a while, and I don't feel badly about it, right? So there's no shame. It's knowing that the majority of what I take in, let's say 80
Mm.
to 90% of my food is fuel,
Mm.
and the rest is whatever the hell I want, or the
Mm.
heck I want,
Mm.
right? So your body can handle quite a bit. It just can't handle it when you are also not sleeping, not exercising, you know, having a negative mood. There's all these things that cause the system to be overly challenged so that it cannot handle the, you know, extra, you know, stress that you're putting in it through the food. And
Wow.
literally that has void of nutritional value. So let's, you know, take like a fat, for instance, which is, you know, we were told for forever that it was bad for you, and it's not. You're actually not, you know, majority of your brain cells are fat, made from fat. So you actually need fat, but you need the right kind of fat, right? So if you have like a fat that Mother Nature makes, let's say omega-3 fish oils, or flaxseed or something of that nature, which is a polyunsaturated fat, which is what your body needs. And every cell of your body has a membrane around it that's made out of these fats. It even needs some cholesterol. So the difference between cholesterol and like the polyunsaturated fats is that our body can make cholesterol, but it can't make the polyunsaturated fats. So we have to get it from somewhere. So if you're not getting it, then your cells are going to be weaker, right? The membranes aren't being fed. So you have to, you know, we think about it that, but then you think, well, then there's the man-made fats, the hydrogenated fats. You can see that, like whether it's, you know, margarine or frosting and things like that. Those are hydrogenated fats. That means they've taken a fat and they put it through a hydrogenation process, right, which changes the chemical structure. The partially hydrogenated means it's partially, it's only partially, the chemical structure is only partially changed. And what happens is it changes the structure of the fat. So normally it's like a C shape and it flattens it out, right? So it's normally kinked and it flattens it out, which means the body can't metabolize it. So even though you're eating it and it tastes good, it's void of energy because the body can't metabolize it into energy. So that's how food works. It's energy, right? You take it in, it's digested, it's broken down, it's taken in for energy by the cells, and then you give you a boost. It's like I'm putting gas in my gas tank. But if you eat something and it tastes good, and then it can't get broken down, and the body's working really hard, but it's just getting inflamed, it's actually not being used for fuel. So it's empty calories, right? It's basically void of nutritional value. So you're actually not getting any fuel, which is why you can eat something and still feel tired because you're literally starving your body.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's not getting the fuel it needs. Now, I mean, I'm making it sort of a widespread generalization, like it's not that bad, but that's basically what's happening because no food is just trans fats or partially hydrogenated fats. It's got other stuff in it. But that's why I'm saying, so that when you are having a lot of inflammation or oxidative stress or void of fuel, of energy, you're going to feel tired and moody and anxious, and it's going to affect your brain.
Yeah.
So that's why people find when they go clean and start what I think, I don't even like to call it healthy food, I call it nutrient rich food, you're going to feel better. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel more alive, more positive, all that kind of stuff. So there's a definite effect in what you put into your body and then the outcome.
Yeah, I've never had explained to me like that before, but especially when you said so essentially you're starving your body, that kind of hit me like, wow, that's pretty intense, honestly. And you also mentioned a word earlier that really stuck out to me, addiction, or addicted. Do you, because I know some people feel this way and some people don't, do you feel like it's possible to be addicted to food or to sugar?
Sure. I mean,
I do.
the studies show that, and mostly animal models. So it's, we can't 100% say, yes, this is true. And humans as well, those studies are happening, but mostly we know that yes, that when you feed, these animal models, and we can also know that in humans with, foods that are high in sugar, mostly like kind of liquid types of like soft drinks and things like that. And certain fats, that it actually stimulates the dopamine, the dopaminergic reward system in the brain, and can be even more addictive than cocaine.
Wow. Yeah, and I've always felt that sugar can definitely, be something that you're addicted to. I mean, but I've had another person on who was saying it's not. And so, I was like, man, I'm really hoping that I can get an opposite opinion on this now with you.
Well,
So it's kind of interesting to,
I think it's going to be dependent. It's really going to be dependent on the individual, like anyone else. Alcohol is addictive for some people and not others. It's really dependent on the dopaminergic reward system in the brain, and how much it's stimulated, and how the body then, how the brain then reacts to the release of dopamine, right? And whether you get highs and lows, and then whether or not the need to then get that high again is there, and whether or not that's part of your programming. Right. So it's, is it nature? Is it nurture? Right. Is it something that you're born with? Unlikely. But is it something that you've been programmed to try to feel better for coping? Right. So if you realize that every time I eat sugar, I get this high and I feel better temporarily, you're going to keep going to that. And it's going to be very hard to give that up. Right. If you don't have any other outlets to take care of how the negative way that you feel. So it's I think it's more complex than just saying food is an addiction, because we do need food. Like food does nurture, food does fuel us. So to sort of say, well, it's addictive, it's like, well, I mean, am I addicted to fueling myself? I mean,
right.
yes, because the dopamine will be released when I fuel myself. So it's more complex,
Right.
than that, but it certainly can be. It certainly can be.
Do you think there's ever instances where a person, like maybe just like how an alcoholic might need to say to themselves, okay, I really can't just be a social drinker and just have a drink here and there. I have to go cold turkey. Do you think there are instances where a person needs to say, I need to just go cold turkey off of processed sugar? Of course, you need like apples and fruit and things of that nature, but do you feel like that would be good, or do you think in some cases that could be not so good? I know again it's
I
dependent
think
on the situation.
you have to be careful in how you go about doing that. I think first of all is language. You don't can't on yourself, and you don't need on yourself, and you don't should on yourself. So that language, language of punishment and denial needs to be removed, because
Mm,
it then tells the brain that you're going to starve yourself. So, and that
wow.
come from a place of love and a place of nurturance and a place of joy. Like, I'm
Hmm.
going to choose to fuel my body with nutrient rich food for the next 3 weeks and see how I feel, as opposed to I need to stop. Which
Right.
one is motivating and which one is going to then encourage long-term positive behavior changes,
Yeah. No,
right?
that's so
So,
true.
so it's the first and foremost is is to avoid that type of language of of punitive language, of denial language. Like, that's why the word, I don't use the word diet. I like to use the word nutrition. I don't even like to use the word healthy because it doesn't mean anything. I like to use the word nutrient rich because it's descriptive of what I want to do, right? It's what I want to do, what I'm going to be encouraged to do, what is empowering and what is proactive, as opposed to punitive or even preventive.
Right.
Those are just fear based. They don't work.
Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like maybe there's some people who will be listening to this who can kind of see those patterns in themselves. I know I kind of get those patterns where it's like, can't, and then maybe like a binge, and then it's the punishment phase, and then, and it's like this cycle. And years ago, I started looking into it more and realizing that I have this pattern, and taking away that punishment phase helped me tremendously in breaking that kind of a cycle. And I know that that punishment phase can look different for different people. Like, some you hear of some individuals who might run on a treadmill for 3 hours the next day. That wasn't me, but I was the one who was like, all right, I'll eat like 800 calories today all week or something, like
Right.
very restrictive, very unsustainable type of diet. Well, I'll use it in this case because it was a diet.
Well, remember, it's not based in love.
Right.
It's not based in self-love. That's where the love response comes in, right? This is
Yeah.
not based in nurturing myself to be the best I can be. What is it? What fuels me to be whole? What fuels me to feel good? What fuels me to have more energy? What fuels me to, help my metabolism? And there's no denying there. You don't say, I can't have this or I can't have that.
Right.
It's like, I can have that. I'm just choosing to have this.
Mm-hmm.
I can have whatever I want. I'm just choosing to have this. Right.
Yeah.
And that if I have an off day where I go nuts and have, a whole tub of French fries, that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just one meal. I can go right back to having high octane fuel in my next meal.
Yes, and I think sometimes that's the little loophole we find, or some people like myself have found for themselves, where it's like, oh, I had 2 pieces of cake. Well, screw it. Now I'm just gonna keep this party train going,
I
cause
call it the what the heck effect.
yeah, the what the, what the heck effect.
What the heck effect. So yeah, and you can always do, and then you do that and you just do a reset,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I said, your body is quite resilient. You just do a reset. You say, I'm going to just, fuel my body with the most beautiful, rich, wonderful, you know, enriching foods that I can for the next few days, and then see how I feel.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's so true.
Remember 80/20. So if you have a day of like crazy eating out of the week, it's okay. Your body can handle that.
Yeah, that's so true. And I don't know the validity of this, but I have like the memory of watching a YouTube video of someone talking about nutrition, and they were saying even if you were to binge and have a crazy binge, that's still not even enough to like make you actually gain weight. So it's because some people get that mentality of, oh, I did this binge, I'm going to gain weight, and then it just slips into like a week-long binge or something, or on and off, and you know.
It's a real, I mean, I have several clients that I work with on this. And, one of the things that, they finally understand is like, I show them the math, right? To gain a pound, you have to eat an extra 3,500 calories over the week to gain a pound. Right? So it's not, you're not going to eat something and then, be a pound more the next day. That's just the volume of the food that you've taken in, and then you'll go to the bathroom and it will be gone. But it takes a while for everything to metabolize and either be used as fuel or to be put in your fat storage, and in the expenditure versus what you consume. And so whatever your basal metabolic rate is, and whatever your calorie intake needs to be for your body type, you actually have to have an extra 500 calories a day over the course of the week to be 3,500 calories more to actually gain that pound. So you actually have to eat quite a bit because, your basal metabolic rate can handle quite a bit.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so if you have one day where you get an extra 3,500 calories in that day, but then you eat regularly for the rest of the week, you may or may not gain a pound the following week, right? But it's unlikely because you probably, you're moving and all this other kind of stuff. So it's not that easy. Most people just maintain.
Yeah.
They don't lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but if you are sort of regularly consuming at least 3,500 calories more a week than your body can handle, then you will start gaining a pound a week.
Right.
Right? Because you're binging every day.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like you said, that 80-90 rule is super helpful. One thing I started doing, and please, I won't be offended, tell me if this isn't healthy, but on my fridge, I have written down like 1 through 30, like say for a month, and each number has a circle around it. And then above it, also, I have a little note that says eat with love. But I have a little cute pink marker. And at the end of every day, if I did have processed sugar that day, I just do an X. And if I didn't, I fill it in like wholly. And it opened my eyes a lot because I was eating more processed sugar than I had thought. So I was like, whoa, look, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like it wasn't a binge every day, but it would be like, oh, I had a McFlurry, or oh, I had like, I don't know, something. It's all a blur now. But anyways, but now it's kind of like I'm very competitive with myself, and it almost feels like a healthy competition with myself of like, oh, this is so cool. Like I can fix this ratio. Now that I'm seeing my natural patterns, I can kind of say, all right, I want more solid days than X's. The X's are okay, but I just want more solid days.
And you can say, you know what, every Tuesday and Friday, I get to have a McFlurry.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the other days I'll make different choices. I mean, you could do whatever you want. It's just don't deny yourself anything.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about denial. It's about saying, okay, I really am craving something sweet. What are some of my options?
Yeah.
And maybe I bake something that I can have, and put it in the freezer, and then and then I know that I've made it. I know what's in it. I know that it's not processed, right? And I, take something out when I want it.
Yeah.
So, there's, it's not about not allowing yourself to have those sweets. It's just like maybe choosing choosing, like, let's say you made yourself I used to make a lot of like paleo cookies, that were basically made with almond flour and coconut oil and honey, right? So really, really high in nutritional value, loaded, it had nuts and all kinds of stuff, and like a high percentage of cacao chips or whatever. So high level of antioxidants, high level of polyunsaturated and monosaturated fats, with also almond flour, very, very small amounts of the carbohydrate, but it had a good amount of honey in it. So, really good, healthy honey. So I know that even though it might be high in calories, it's
Right.
really nutrient dense. Really nutrient. So might have it like after a walk or something like that. But I know that I'm actually eating something that might be high in calories, but it's nutrient rich.
Yeah.
So, that's something you can also do, is just, figure out how to make different choices to take care of that little sweet craving.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like in times past, I've had seasons where I did things like that. I prepared myself healthier alternatives to certain desserts, and I got that sweet tooth craze. I have a big sweet tooth. Like I love sweets. I hate it, but I love sweets. And there's been times in past where like I would have healthy cookies made, like paleo cookies, like you said, or I really like doing the. Have you ever done it where you take 2 eggs and a banana and you mash it up and then make that into pancakes?
Yeah, I'm not a big pancake person, but yes, another one.
Yes,
You can also do
yeah.
that with protein powder too.
See, exactly. Yeah. And those are the things where it's like, wow, I'm literally just eating 2 whole eggs and a banana and some pumpkin spice that I put on there. Maybe drizzle a little bit of honey on there, like a little
And
bit.
then
And it's like,
sometimes you want a McFlurry.
yeah,
That's okay because 80% of the time you're eating, 2 eggs and a banana. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So, so that's also like that's what I'm saying about the love piece. And I'm gonna have to sign off soon, but
Oh, yeah.
that's what I'm saying about the love piece is that you do it with love. Like don't make yourself eat something you don't love.
Right.
Don't make yourself eat something you don't enjoy. If you know that, like, I have a habit, if I'm working from home, so I'm going to constantly go back and have more of those cookies, I'm going to put them in the freezer.
Right.
So then it's not easy. I just know myself, right? So I
Yeah.
just don't have easy access to it, right? I have to like put it in like the toaster first to warm them up. And it's more of a process that I have to be mindful around. So it's really about bringing love and mindfulness into the equation, not judging yourself and finding the way that best works for you. But again, even just being aware of your language, I would avoid the word healthy and just think about, is it nutrient rich or nutrient poor?
I
That's
like that.
very, very different because we're not, what does even healthy mean?
Yeah, that's so true. And nutrient rich helps me a lot because I box and I'm also really into skating, like roller dance skating.
Mm-hmm.
And my coach is really intense and he does not play games and he puts us through the ringer at the gym and I'm there pretty frequently and I think to myself, what am I going to eat right now that will help me recover faster from this and have the energy that I need for today, for today's training session and for
Good.
when I'm sleeping and
Cool.
my muscles are rebuilding. So that's one thing that I noticed has definitely helped me with my nutrition
Yep. So
that
just think
way.
fuel.
Fuel. I like that. I really do. And are there any
Everything in life is
plugs?
fuel.
What was that?
Everything in life is fuel.
Exactly. It's so true. It like all cycles through. And I was just going to say, are there any plugs that people can go to find your work and your books
Yeah,
and
you can go to my website. The new book has not been announced on that yet. That reminds me to talk to my web person. So you can go to drselhub.com. That's drselhub.com. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. There's always tons of content being posted, and my website has also tons of blogs and articles on that. So you can look out for that. And like I said, the book should be coming out March 3rd, and all of the books are available on, the .coms, Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble and that sort of thing. So you can pretty much get any book at any time.
Awesome. Well, it's been seriously really great talking to you. It was so interesting hearing your perspective on things, and you've honestly helped me feel a lot better today because I've been stressing food lately, and you know how sometimes you get in those like seasons of like, oh, like I don't know, what do I eat, what do I not eat, and
Right.
should I have sugar, should I cut it out? I don't know. And so honestly, you really did give me some peace of mind today, and I
Right.
really do appreciate that.
I'm glad my work is done.
Ta-da! And thank you for being so cooperative with my squadcast not working.
Well, we got it done.
We did. So thank you so much, and I'll be sure to send you a link whenever this is up.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye. Da 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 da. Another episode donezo. Yeah, and as usual, if you enjoyed this episode, give me an email, send me an email, reach out. I love to hear your feedback, your comments, or maybe there's a topic you're interested in learning about or discussing, or maybe there's a speaker you know of that you're interested in. I can try and reach out. You never know, okay? I got as you know, if you've listened to it, Mark Cuban's brother Brian Cuban on here, so the possibilities are pretty much endless at this point. Anyways, yeah, links to Dr. Eva Selhub's website are below, and her book is below, and I hope this was helpful to you, and enjoy. Have a great day, night, morning, whatever time it is, I hope it's great. Bye.